Hi everyone, Kieran Brown here, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about 5 things that every ripped guy does, and you'll be able to just copy these straight away. And it's things that I've implemented into my life in the last couple of years. So I, like you, have watched probably hundreds, if not thousands of hours of fitness and body transformation content on YouTube. And I personally have watched these 4 guys the most from left to right. It's Mike Thurston, Rob Lipsett, Joe Delaney, and Kino Body. And most of the things that I've learned and implement today are from like these 4 guys. And having watched so many of their videos, I've noticed so many things in common. And I'm going to go through 5 of them in this video. So the first one is counting calories for a season. And I emphasize there just for a season. None of these guys count calories year round and for the past like 10 years. If you've never done it before, then you're really in for a shock about how calorific modern foods actually are. But just doing it for 1 to 4 weeks. I first did it in January 2023. And yeah, you learn so much about food and what you're eating by counting your calories. And after you've done it for like a week to 4 weeks, you'll be able to start to eyeball it. And after that, you'll never really have to count again, unless you're like changing your diet quite significantly. But for the most part, we all eat the same things really, like day in, day out. So once you've got an eye for it, then it's not necessary to count calories like all the time. Next is eating the same things every day. And if you watch diet videos from all these guys, you'll notice that regardless if they're cutting or bulking, they are kind of eating like very similar things. Joe Delaney, for example, his breakfast is always the peanut butter on bagels with like a shake or something. Kino Body always has his Greek yogurt and protein powder, and then his dinners are like steaks, etc. Rob Lipsett has his protein pancakes. You'll notice that in any video where they're showing food, it's kind of similar. And that's because they have a system that's been fine-tuned over many years. You're not going to nail the perfect diet that you can stick to straight away. You basically just have to start and learn as you make mistakes and just slowly iterate meal by meal until you find something that you can stick to and gets the results, and most importantly, that you enjoy. I think one huge misconception is that dieting for these guys is difficult, but it's really not. It's just their new normal. And if they didn't enjoy what they ate, then they wouldn't be able to stick to it for so long. Tracking weight daily. So if you asked any of these guys how heavy they are at a given time, they could probably tell you. Whereas the average person on the street, they probably have no idea. You know, they'll probably say they haven't weighed themselves in years. And that's because they have the data. They've weighed in recently, if not daily, then definitely like weekly. And they make decisions based on data and not emotion. It's so easy to get caught up in your emotions when you're going through a body transformation if you have a bad week. But it's so important just to try and focus more on the data and make decisions off that rather than just any emotional decisions. Limiting sugar and alcohol. Now, a disclaimer is that it is possible to be in good shape and consume these things. And all these guys, I'm sure, drink every now and again, and might have a small treat, maybe every evening or something. And when I was doing my first ever cut, I was having sugar as well, and probably had alcohol a couple times maybe. It's still perfectly possible. However, I'd say that maintenance is easier than repair. And what that means is the process of achieving a transformation, whether that's leaning down or bulking up, is much harder than just maintaining your current physique. I'm sure if I asked you, could you just maintain your current physique? It probably wouldn't take much effort. You probably wouldn't have to count your calories or do too much exercise. You wouldn't have to change anything from what you're currently doing. And once you get to that point, um, yeah, it becomes much easier and you can slack a little bit more. But when you're going through this period of transformation, it will be a lot easier if you do cut out like sugar and alcohol, because it will just lead to more overeating and the classic like empty calorie. It won't give you any nutrition, and yeah, you'll just end up eating more. Setting higher standards. So, do you think any of these guys would ever let themselves get to 20% plus body fat? Could you imagine one day if Mike Thurston hadn't recorded it or uploaded a video to YouTube for 6 months and he came back and he was 20% body fat? Do you think that is likely to happen? Like, I don't think it is. And all these guys have maintained like amazing physiques for so many years. And I think one reason is because they have such high standards of themselves. And that's what's enabled them to stay so consistent. Do you think any of them would not go to the gym for 2 months, go on long drinking benders, or smoke and do drugs? Like, probably not. So the gap between where you are now and where you want to be is almost just a matter of standards. And for me personally, when I look back in past years, like when I was at university, etc., like I just had such low standards of myself without even realizing it. It wasn't a conscious decision, but I was drinking a lot, not going to the gym, having late nights, terrible sleeping schedule, all that. And subconsciously, that was my standard. Whereas now, like I wouldn't even dream of doing those things. And it's because I have these new higher standards of myself. And I'm sure in the future, in the next year or two, um, those standards will get even higher. So in summary, the 5 things that I've noticed all ripped guys do is counting calories for a season, so that you know by eye roughly how much you're eating, whether you're cutting or bulking. Eat the same things every day. Once you're doing this for long enough, you'll eventually find meals that you love, that fit your macros, that are convenient, easy to make, and you're literally just on autopilot from that point there. He tracks his weight, probably daily, if not at least like weekly, or they'll be able to know how much they weigh roughly, like all the time. And if they notice their weight fluctuating too much one way or the other, then they make a data-driven decision rather than an emotional decision. They limit sugar and alcohol as much as possible because it leads to overeating, and they're generally just not good for you. They affect like energy levels quite a lot as well and affect gym performance. And lastly, setting high standards of themselves. So if you're interested in going through your own body transformation, I do one-to-one coaching. The link is in the description. But apart from that, that's everything. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you tomorrow.